Hello, and welcome to People Keep Dying, the podcast. What do you say? Because I say something different, and I need to start saying what you say.
No, we just go with whatever we
Okay,
feel
fine.
like.
Fine. Let's start it again. Hello, and welcome to People Keep Dying, the podcast where we talk about people who die. I'm your host, Stephanie.
And I'm your other host, Angela.
And today is our Christmas special.
Woo! And you get to be depressed before Christmas.
Yeah, so we can ruin your Christmas or possibly give you tidbits to avoid being slaughtered over the holidays by other people who clearly don't handle their holidays very well.
My story is not going to give you that feeling of you could have done something about it.
I mean, my story probably doesn't either, but I mean, it might make you question some of your...
Don't trust anyone.
Yeah.
Don't trust yourself.
Don't trust anybody.
Don't trust anyone.
Particularly people that already maybe be totally shit people. But
Yeah.
and you know it. But anyways, yeah, so this is our little holiday special. We decided to do the holiday episode before Christmas.
Because it's so close to Christmas.
Yeah, because we normally upload on Thursdays.
Yeah, so on the Thursday it'll be the 20th. So it's pretty
Yeah.
close to Christmas. And
It's, well, I guess it's really not closer to Christmas than the 27th, but
it's after Christmas doesn't feel right.
yeah, can't post it after Christmas.
Yeah, that's
Like,
crazy. We have a different episode for that.
then you may as well just be doing New Year's, which we're not doing a New Year's episode. We'll just like...
I already chose my murder. It's too late now. It's too late. We're going.
But anyways, what do you got going on for your Christmas holidays?
Just family stuff. Just Nick's family's coming over. We're having Christmas, and then on Friday we're having dinner with his dad for Christmas. So, and then this is the first. It's weird because I'm married into a white family, and you guys celebrate Christmas, whereas. When as a Korean Catholic, I definitely just went to church at midnight.
Why is it gotta be
for
white?
An hour, and I do feel that I've never every Asian person I talked to was just like, we don't have a Christmas tree. Like, why the fuck do you change presents?
to be fair, are there even pine trees in Asia?
I think there is. I want to say there is.
I feel like
But
you
maybe
probably
not,
have
'cause
different
pine
trees.
nuts are really expensive too.
I'm pretty sure those trees are like
But
our
I mean,
trees.
California fucking does it, and I guess there still is pine
Yeah.
trees actually. Oh my god, there is pine trees. I'm crazy.
Are there? I mean, I have no idea.
I remember there was one in my schoolyard, but either way, I know we didn't really celebrate Christmas because we had New Year's.
I mean, it's
And New Year's is way better than Christmas because on New Year's, you get all the elders together and you bow to them and they give you an envelope full of cash. And then
I mean,
you
I
end
think
up with
that's better.
cash.
that's probably
So,
better because
yeah.
sometimes you end up with shitty shit.
And I really appreciate the effort you put in, but at the same time, I grew up getting cash as gifts. So
I
I'm just
mean,
like,
I put
what?
a lot of effort into your gift.
I loved my gift, by the way. I fucking love it. I love random shit. Like, I love, like, boxes of, like, your stuff. And I'm like, yes, because it's, like, individual presents.
For those wondering, I literally gave Angela a box of my crap. It was leftover, like, sample packets of all the makeup that I've bought.
But I did ask for it.
Yeah, she
specifically,
did specifically
so-
ask for it. So I wasn't a total bitch about it. But
Because you asked
gave
like, what
her
I
a
wanted for
box-
Christmas, and that's
yeah.
what I said.
gave her a box of old makeup samples that I just was like, I'll never use these. Here you go.
Yes.
Here's my garbage.
And that's what I want. So. I spent, like, hours getting samples online, so I could keep getting like mail of random samples.
Oh, I have
It's, like, my
never
favorite
done that.
thing. Oh my god, that's my favorite
too much
thing.
effort. No,
Oh.
no. I buy something from Sephora and then I go and I get my 3 samples and then I
2
also
samples.
well now it's 2 samples,
Yeah.
but it used to be 3. And I also make sure I get my little bonus gift of first spending like the $35 or whatever. I always make sure I get those. And then during the holiday season, not this year, last year I did. I like just make sure I maximize my samples from Sephora particularly.
Yes.
Plus I also sign up with other like monthly beauty things, and if anybody has signed up for any of those, you know, you get a lot of stuff that maybe isn't quite for
Questionable.
you,
Yeah.
despite the fact that it's supposed to be personalized.
No.
I don't know why they just keep giving me the same pink eyeshadow, because I've told them I don't wear pink.
You're very fortunate that I know someone who wears a lot of pink eyeshadow. Not
Yeah.
me, but I do know someone who does.
I think it doesn't look good on me. It's just my skin's too pink
Yeah.
to wear more pink.
I mean, your skin's not too pink for anything. You just do whatever the fuck you want. But.
No, my skin is like it's my skin, so I've decided. Okay, so my Christmas holidays. Thank you so much for asking. Will be spent on Sunday. I'm going to be having dinner with my brother and his lovely girlfriend, and then we'll be spending Christmas with my partner's parents, and then that's it.
You'll have all the love of a dog and the
Oh yeah.
cats.
Well, we'll be waking up Christmas morning with my animals and unwrapping gifts, and then
Yeah.
and then heading on out. But no, I'm really excited. It's going to be a really quiet, simple Christmas. Hopefully, not too much kerfuffle and all of that. And then I can really just focus on New Year's and prepping for the new year, because I'm really excited for 2019.
Let's get to our story.
Yeah, let's get to our stories. Let's get on with it. Mine's a real bummer. I just want to get through this because of how much of a bummer it is. I apologize that I'm ruining everybody's Christmas by telling this story, but hey,
I think
you know
Christmas murders are always worse because not only is it like a seasonal thing, but I do feel like there's always more death during any of the holidays. People get depressed and lonely.
do you know what makes that worse?
What?
Is when it's a family annihilator.
Oh no, I think we have a similar story.
Yes.
No,
It's not the
different,
same.
We have
Yeah.
different states. But
Different states. We made sure. I'm also not recent, and you said that yours was recent. So today we are going to talk about Ronald Gene Simmons. And he was born on July 15th, 1940 in Chicago, Illinois, to a William and Loretta Simmons. And when Ronald was just 3 years old, his father died of a stroke, and the following year, Loretta remarried a civil engineer in the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, and because of that dude's job, they moved around a lot. And he had a lot of exposure to like really tough, strict upbringing, because Army men are like that, especially back in the 50s and the 60s. When he was 17, he dropped out of high school to join the Army, where he would eventually be stationed in Washington, and he would meet and fall in love with his future wife, Bursaby Rebecca Ulibarri,
Newberry.
and the two would get married in New Mexico on July 9th, 1960. And they would also end up having 7 children together.
Were they Catholic?
No, they weren't Catholic. I
so
think
many
that
kids.
he was just he had a sexual appetite, I imagine,
And no
he-
birth control.
Definitely no birth control, and I don't really think that she was ever allowed to say no. So
One of those.
yeah,
assholes.
he did have a really great career in the military, because strict people usually tend to thrive there. Working in multiple branches, including the Navy and the Air Force, and he won awards for his service in Vietnam. And then he retired in 1979 at the rank of a master sergeant.
It just sounds so weird.
But things aren't always as they appear, because Ronald was a total controlling piece of shit. He was super abusive and controlling to his wife, Rebecca, and she was often seen around town with bruises on her face and arms. She was never allowed to leave the house without him except to do laundry. She wasn't allowed to drive on her own. He always had to be there. He kept the children on a tighter leash, constantly bombarding them with chores to keep them busy round the clock, never letting them participate in after-school activities. Their friends were rarely, if ever, allowed to come by the house, but when they did, the basic tone of it was he basically looked at people, get out. Like, when are you leaving? You're inconveniencing me by being
in my
here."
house. Like,
And he was always seen with a beer in his hand. He would spend a lot of time in this one really dark, dank room, which to me, like when I first started reading about him, sounded very like PTSD from war. So I was kind of giving him, I was kind of giving him a little bit of leeway.
Is it also his upbringing? And did he have a?
Yeah, probably a little bit due to his upbringing as well. I don't think that he was a very warm fella.
No.
And sorry, Ronald, above all things, super valued privacy because his business is his business and it's nobody else's business, right? And I sort of understand that to a degree.
I do, unless you're actually hurting someone else, though. If you're hurting a different
Yeah.
individual, it's not just your own business anymore.
Yes.
Yeah.
So he used to also apparently like super monitor all the mail being sent to and from the house. He used to, because back in the day, he used to send letters a lot. We didn't have email and texting.
What?
Yeah. I understand that
so
might be hard for some people to
crazy.
understand, like to remember, but people used to write letters and he used to read them. And he was a very, very controlling person.
Piece of shit. Okay.
Yeah. And in 1981, they were living in Cloudcroft, New Mexico. The people in the town started getting a little uneasy about the Simmons because he was always drinking. He was staying in the tiny dark room. Like people were just, rumors were starting to spread about how uneasy he was to be around. And it also started getting a little weird because his 13-year-old daughter started getting a little bit more attention than other people sort of presumed that she
Ew.
needed from her dad.
Ew.
He was kissing a little bit too long
Ew.
in the mornings before she would go to school. Eventually, Eventually, Sheila admitted to a school counselor that she was pregnant and Ronald was the father. And shortly after, Ronald obviously was investigated. And fearing being arrested, he packed up and fled, which, in my opinion, really just kind of proves that he did it.
Yeah, of course he did it.
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah, so they finally turn up again in 1983, but now they're living in Dover, Arkansas. And the family has taken up a residence on a 13-acre piece of land that would later become known as Mockingbird Hill.
Is he going to pass off that child as like
He
his
wanted
daughter?
to.
Oh.
He originally went to his wife and was like, yeah, you're going to pass this off as
Your own
your
child.
own kid. And it's because they all lived together, I don't really know if that actually happened. It was just they ended up finding some letters later on, and the wife had mentioned that she was uncomfortable and felt really embarrassed about having that he had asked her about that and what they were going to do about the baby later on.
That's what made her uncomfortable, not the fact that he got
well,
her pregnant.
I mean, she was probably she was being beat. Like she was living in her own little hell. We're not shaming.
I'm not
the
shaming
victim.
her. I'm just saying that it just seems weird that that's where she felt embarrassed. in
Well, no,
comparison.
it was just because like I'm sure she was embarrassed about a whole lot, but it was just like she wasn't. It made her. She didn't want to have to pass off this baby because
Yeah.
like people were gonna know that it wasn't hers.
It just sucks because like you can tell that from all these like stories like this that they didn't have a choice.
I mean, people can say that you do have a choice. You have a choice to leave, but then when they do leave, they end up getting killed. So
or they're homeless, and then we
Yeah,
have such a
like-
stigma against homeless people and homeless women who have, and she has 7 kids. Like, where the fuck is she supposed to go with
Yeah.
7 kids?
Some
and she can't leave
people-
her kids there because she knows what happens to them.
yeah, she can't leave the kids. Like
So what choice does she have, really? It's so unfair to just say, oh, she could just. It's
no, it really, really is. So their home, if you really want to call it that, was constructed from 2 older mobile homes conjoined to create one larger home. And it was surrounded by a makeshift privacy fence of cinder blocks and barbed wire, probably to keep everyone the fuck out, because privacy. And because I wrote,
oh my god.
oh man, I'm such an asshole. I wrote because no one needs to tell this dude where he can and can't stick his dick. It also had no telephone. That way that he could control like people talking. If there's no telephone, then they can't make phone calls when he's not there. Can't call the police. And there was also no indoor plumbing. He used to make the kids fetch water every single day and bring the water back to the house so that they would be able to like wash dishes and drink whatever and bathe.
They like poop outside and then like bury it.
He made the kids dig huge holes for outhouses. They had two currently, and he was having one built. So Ronald worked a bunch of low-paying jobs, but he would be forced to quit most of them because he kept making sexual advances or sexual harassment remarks to his female coworkers and bosses. He would eventually get a job working at a mini mart, and he would work there for over a year before quitting abruptly on December 18th, 1987.
I want to make a very bold statement of saying that I feel like his father was the same way, and so he saw that and then thought
His
that
stepfather
was the same way.
Yeah,
so he
probably
thought that he could just get away with it.
Yeah, couldn't find a lot about the father, but I mean, I would imagine having, I don't know why I just have the stigma of like men from like the 20s to the 70s that were like that were ever in the war or in the army in any sort of way or in the military. They were just very like strict, hard men.
Because they went through like two
and
wars,
it was a different
too.
time.
Yeah,
like love wasn't like something that
no.
I mean I shouldn't make presumptuous, but from what I understand, like it wasn't necessarily like
it wasn't the most important thing in a relationship in comparison to everything else. Stability and having money and food, because they went into depression. So that's
people beat their wives. Like it wasn't an uncommon thing for men to beat their wives. And then when they beat their wives
and the wives complained, they'd be like, well, what did you do?
Yeah, they would go to the police, and like it was a much different time. And it all stems from generational stuff, and we're now starting to like come like as a civilization or as a society, I guess we're starting to like work our way out of it with each generation, but it takes a long time, especially because you're not catching it like always, and then you got to play out the trauma of what happened. Like there's a whole generational thing, but that's all stuff that I'm super into with psychology.
You study historical psychology.
It doesn't really say if he was forced to quit the mini mart job like all the other ones, but I have my suspicions that it was likely that, and he was probably causing some issues. Or maybe he felt like he probably wasn't going to be returning home back to work after the holidays.
That's true.
He had a plan. He had a plan in place for Christmas.
I feel like if he had a plan, then he would quit, because So obviously someone dies. In case you didn't know what this podcast is about.
Yeah, I mean, people keep dying. So on the morning of December 22nd, 1987, Ronald Gene Simmons would start his Christmas celebration early by bludgeoning and shooting his wife Rebecca to death. And then later that day, when his 29-year-old son Ronald Jr. showed up to visit the holidays with their 3-year-old daughter Barbara, Ronald bludgeoned and shot his son, then strangled his granddaughter, and then tossed all 3 bodies into a shallow pit that Simmons had ordered his children to dig only months earlier for an outhouse.
How fucking disgusting.
Yeah. He basically like tossed them out like they were trash.
And he made them dig up their own graves.
Essentially, yeah. It was probably, he had probably been planning it for a while.
Yeah.
I have a theory on why. It gets worse. It gets a lot worse. But I have a theory on why everybody died in the order that they did. So, again, it gets worse because later on that day, the school bus comes and drops off the 3 younger children, Loretta, who was 17, Eddie, who was 14, Marianne, who was 11, and Becky, who was 8. And when they entered the house, Ronald told each of them that he had presents for them.
No.
And then he wanted to give it to them each individually, so he lured each child into the back, then strangled and drowned them in a rain barrel, one by one, and then tossed their bodies into the hole.
How was he able to get away with that, because he did have 2 teenagers. So how did he like?
Because he was an
systematically-
abusive, like,
oh, so he's like, I mean,
like these are kids that grew up with a really strict father. So when your father says, "Go to your fucking room and wait for me,"
oh, until I come for
until I
you.
come and
I
get
thought for some
you.
reason they were like all coming.
I
at
mean, I
once.
don't know, but
Yeah.
like he said
That
that
would
he
make more sense
he
if they
wanted to
were,
give them a
like,
gift
yeah.
one by one, and then he
That would make more
killed them
sense,
one by
yeah.
one. At least that's what.
It does. Yeah, that
Yeah.
actually would make the most sense.
So then he put those bodies. Well, he didn't put them. He tossed those bodies into the hole with the other two. After he was done murdering his immediate family that lived with him, he then reached out and invited the rest of his elderly children to come for Christmas dinner on the 26th.
No. Because he wasn't fucking done.
No. So he basically, so this was the 22nd, and he basically sat around his house with his dead family in the backyard for 4 days until the 26th in the afternoon, when his son William, who was 22, and his wife Renata arrived with their 21-month-old son Tay. So shortly after they entered the house, Ronald shot William and Renata, and he left their bodies at the dining room table, covered them with some blankets and their jackets. The baby was killed, wrapped in plastic, and placed in the trunk of a car behind the house. Like, he was pissed, and he was like
Why was
methodical.
he so pissed?
Oh, I'll get to that
Okay.
later.
Because like something must have triggered him
Uh,
so hard.
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure what the actual trigger was, because you don't really know when he started planning the
yeah, that's
murder.
true.
But there are, like, they did end up finding some stuff that they're like, well, this is probably the motive.
Yeah.
But I mean,
In case you're listening to this and you want to kill your family, kill yourself first, and then
Yeah.
decide after that if you want to do anything
don't
else.
kill your family. Don't kill the babies.
Don't kill.
Yeah.
Don't kill
Like,
anyone.
Yeah, don't kill anybody.
But yeah.
yeah.
A lot of people will be way less mad if you kill yourself in comparison to killing other people. I'm pretty sure that's accurate, right?
Yeah.
People would appreciate that more. If you've had this urge to go kill a lot of people, don't. That's my
Yeah, don't. Then his now 24-year-old daughter Sheila would be the next to arrive with her husband Dennis McNulty.
What did these like people marry into? This is.
I mean, Sylvia got out.
Oh, she did.
Yeah,
Oh my
no, sorry, not
gosh.
Sylvia. Sheila, his 24-year-old daughter Sheila. So she was the one that was being molested. That he impregnated her with a baby.
Maybe he was like, I know that's a sick way of saying it, but maybe he was a little nicer to her though.
He did love her. He was
Yeah.
in love with his daughter.
So maybe that's why she was able
At least
to
that's what
escape.
he wrote. Well, he was very angry that she
Got married? Oh.
and that she married Dennis McNulty.
And maybe that's the reason why he.
And so yeah, and they also had a child together. So there was a very strong love-hate relation, which I'll get into
Yes.
later. Okay, so Sheila showed up with her husband and their two children. So the 7-year-old Sylvia, who is Ronald's child, and their 20-month-old son Michael.
Poor babies.
Ronald strangled Dennis and the two children, and then he shot Sheila. But this time he laid her body out on the dining room table and covered her with a tablecloth, which
Because
is
he.
yeah. I think he loved her
In a really sick way.
I don't know, because I didn't want to know whether or not he did anything to her post-mortem. But so I don't. If anyone's
But
thinking
she survived,
about it,
so I guess.
no, she doesn't survive. She's
she
dead.
doesn't survive.
No, I meant like she got out of the house.
Oh.
Sorry, she got out of the house when she got away from him. Prior to this situation, I apologize. That was very confusing. I didn't mean to get your hopes up. No, everybody fucking dies. This isn't people keep surviving.
There could have been one survivor.
Well, I mean, there are some, but not in this family. Okay, so he laid her out on the table for display.
When did this all happen? What year?
1987.
Okay.
the year I was born. Then, like any true psychopath, he cleaned himself up, drove into town, stopped by Sears to pick up some gifts that he had ordered in for his family. Then he drove to a bar, had a drink or two, stayed there for a couple of hours before finally returning home, where he would just sit around his house for the weekend.
With his daughter's dead body on a table.
Yeah, just on the table. They were, spoiler, they were still there when the fucking police showed up.
Ew.
On the table. Like, he didn't even clean. The police said, like, when the police finally showed up, they said that, like, there was so much blood everywhere that it looked like a waterfall of blood going down the stairs. It was, it was terrible. I accidentally saw one of the crime scene photos, but then later on in the Reddit comments, someone had said that that was a crime scene photo for a different murder.
Oh, okay.
So I don't really know if I saw a crime scene photo. But it sort of makes sense because of the bodies that are on the floor and the age of the child that's also on the floor. So I think I saw the murder. It was gruesome. Okay, so then on Monday, December 28th, 2 days later, Ronald gets into his son's car, drives to town where he purchases another handgun from Walmart. Then he drives to the Peel, Eddy, and Gibbons law firm where he shoots and kills the receptionist Kathy Kendrick. Then he gets back into his car. Kathy Kendrick used to be a previous coworker of his.
Oh, okay.
I believe Kathy was a girl that he had made advances to, and then was fired from his job or was forced to quit from his job.
So he
because
didn't
of it.
get to complete.
Yes.
Yeah.
So then he got back into his car, drove to the Taylor Oil Company, where he shoots Russell Taylor, but he only is wounded. He doesn't die. The owner of the mini mart that he previously worked at, that he just quit. While there, he also shoots and kills. He also shot and ended up killing Jim Chaffin, who was a fireman and a part-time truck driver for Taylor Oil, which just a person kind of walking by.
He's trying to kill as many people as possible.
He's fucking raging out. He's
Yeah.
trying to take down as many people as he can. He's being a total annihilator. He's shooting fucking other employees as he's walking out of the building. Luckily, nobody else got hurt. Then he drove to the mini mart and shoots and wounds his other coworkers, Roberta Woolery and David Salyer. Then he got back into his car, drove to the Woodland Motor Freight Company, where he tracked down his previous former supervisor, Joyce Butts, which, with a name like Joyce Butts, I'm sorry, Joyce, I really am. I can understand why a piece of shit like this would probably have made innuendos or
Yes.
unwelcome sexual comments because he's a
It's an
fucking
easy
pervert.
joke.
Yeah, and
as
it's an easy
well.
one to make. Again, sorry everyone with the last name Butts that
Sexual
you have to
innuendo
deal
type of last name.
with all the harassment that you received based off of your name. He shot Joyce in the head and the chest, and luckily she also survived. He then took Vicky Jackson at gunpoint hostage, took her back into a computer room, and told her to call the police. And then afterwards he said, "I've come to do what I wanted to do. It's all over now. I've gotten everybody who wanted to hurt me." And then when the police arrived, he surrendered.
He didn't even have decency to kill himself.
No.
Did they publicly lynch him or hang him or shoot him?
Yeah.
Stone him
Yeah,
to death?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, he does.
Okay.
He does die.
Good.
But we aren't blessed enough where he got to kill himself. But on May 12th, 1988, Ronald Simmons was convicted for the death of Kathy Kendrick and Jim Chaffin, which were the clerk, or just like the random, not his family. They were just the random.
Just the random people that for some
His
reason.
ex-coworker, Kathy, and then just the unfortunate pedestrian, Jim Chaffin. He was sentenced to death by lethal injection, plus 147 years in prison, depending which one came first. And on February 10th, 1989, Ronald was then found guilty on 14 counts of capital murder for the death of all of his family members. Now, when it comes to the motives, so they ended up finding an undated letter in a safe deposit box that basically indicated a very strong love-hate relationship between Ronald and his daughter Sheila. Ronald reportedly had said that Sheila had ruined his life and that he was going to see her in hell, and he had lost his trust in her and that he would see her in hell.
I'm glad that she ruined his life.
Yes. Sheila, he was also reportedly very angry that Sheila had married another man and had gotten out of the house and gotten away from him and had a baby with him and now was raising like
his child as well as someone else's child.
Someone else was raising his child.
Yeah.
And also, you also found out that Rebecca, his wife, and her son had been corresponding and writing letters about an escape plan because she was going to leave him.
Yeah.
Or the children were really trying to work on getting her to leave. And she was apprehensive. And I actually read one of the letters where she was talking about how, like, she's never had a job before. And we're talking about a woman who had been abused for over 20 years.
Her entire, like half her life.
Hasn't been able to do anything for 20 years. And it's like, what is she? It's easy to say, like, yeah, get out and go. What do you do?
Yeah.
Where do you go? Like, maybe you can't get a job. Maybe you can't go on welfare.
A lot
maybe
of people
you're scared.
Yeah.
Because, like, she couldn't just leave the kids. And now, like, she had like talked about that in the letters where she couldn't just leave her children there.
She had to smuggle all of them out at once.
Yeah.
And it's a very big coordinated plan. And yeah, where is she supposed to go? Mm-hmm. She has 7 kids. Well, I guess not all 7 at that point.
Well,
it's like 5,
but she has the 4 that are still living in her care.
It's crazy.
And it's also like you're dealing with a fucking madman who probably had told her on more than one occasion that he would kill her and all of the kids if she ever left.
Yes.
Like, so Ronald knew about these letters because he was reading the mail. Yes. So he knew that his wife was planning to leave him.
He was reading the mail then. Oh,
no,
wow.
They didn't know that. So as far as I know, because actually I think that maybe he had caught some previous letters, and probably beat her up about that, because she had given this particular letter to a friend to then give to her son. Like someone was coming by like on the Thursday, I think she said. And so she was hoping that they'd get dropped off in the P.O. box. So either way, it was just more of a motive that he probably knew that his wife was trying to leave him. And that his children were essentially doing that. Like they wanted to take his wife away from him. They wanted to take his kids away from him. They were ruining his life. These ungrateful children.
It's all me.
Me.
Of course.
So, the prosecutors provided letters from his wife, Rebecca, to their son, where she said that she was a prisoner and wanted to leave him. And they were talking about escape plans. Ronald didn't like that so much. And so after the judge ruled that the letters were admissible, Ronald then attacked John, punching him in the face, and then struggled to get the deputy's handgun. And it was a whole mess because the letters basically also like proved that he was molesting his daughter.
Yeah,
because they had the letter with Sheila as well, and he was probably like, I don't want people like child molesters don't fare well in prison.
No.
I also don't imagine family annihilators fare well in prison, but this guy clearly had some issues. So he was sentenced to death by lethal injection again. For the murders of his family on March 16th, 1989, and he waived all of his rights to appeal. However, some other people, Reverend Louis Franz and Jonas Whitmore, tried to appeal for him, saying that by waiving his rights to appeal, it would basically impact future inmates, where they also would have to waive the rights to appeal or something. It was something about future inmates. I didn't really understand it. I didn't care.
I don't care because he deserves to die.
Yeah, so, who fucking cares if he doesn't get to appeal the fact that he killed his fucking family?
Yeah.
But hey, they were Christians. They were probably whatever. So they tried to appeal it, but the courts threw it out. However, the legal proceedings prevented Ronald's execution from being carried out at the original date. And in fact, he was watching television and eating his last meal when the news of his when the news of his day of execution was announced. But it wasn't for very much longer because Bill Clinton comes in and saves the day. He ends up signing a second execution warrant in June 25th, 1990, and it was the quickest sentence to execution death in the United States history since the death penalty had been reinstated in 1976. Simmons refused all visitors, including legal counsel and clergy, and his last words were, "Justice delayed, finally be done. It's justifiable homicide." No family members came to claim the body.
Of course, he killed all of them.
Yeah, because there was none left. So he was buried in a pauper's plot in Lincoln Memorial Lawn.
Do we have to bury them at all?
Yeah, you do. See, here's the thing, because like in certain situations, like in war, when you have mass graves, you're not burying every single person.
No, you don't. You just throw them all in a pile and then call it a day.
I think it's just respectful to. I mean,
why respectful?
I personally think graveyards. Well, I understand the personal sentimental value of them. I think they're a waste. I think it's a huge plot of land that you've now contaminated forever for some bones. And why?
It's all like religious purposes, because I know that my dad for sure wants to make sure that he has a burial plot. Koreans have to visit their dead relatives like 5 times a year. It's like a whole thing. I still want to become a tree. I think that is the most logical.
Yeah, be a
next
tree.
Step.
Like
makes the most sense to me.
Yeah.
Be
so someone
useful.
comes down and cuts you and then makes you into a house, and the house is haunted.
Yeah, and that's great for me. Oh my gosh.
I mean, it's really
So,
great.
there's no downside to me becoming a tree. But anyways, so my story is more recent than yours, and it's closer to home for me because I went to school at Cal Poly Pomona, and this happened in Covina, California, which is like I think like a city or two away. And the city lines in LA are crazy. It's like you cross the street and you're in a different city.
Yeah.
So it's probably like a 5-minute drive from where I went to university.
Nearby.
And this happened in like while I was in university as well. So
it's like your little hometown murder.
Yeah, I sort of remember this murder. Like I remember hearing about it, but I didn't realize. Like I just remember like it was kind of a morbid joke for a while because Santa comes and kills everyone. But after reading everything about it, it wasn't very funny. Start there.
Yeah, mine wasn't very funny either.
Yeah,
it's a depressing episode, guys. We're sorry. Well, I mean, it's not our fault.
Christmas murders weren't funny.
Don't hate the player, hate the game.
Yeah. So on December 24th, Christmas Eve 2008, Sylvia Ortega Pardo was at her parents' home for a Christmas party, and it's in Covina, California. Having just finalized her divorce from her husband of almost 3 years a week previous, she had been staying with her parents and celebrating Christmas with about 25 of her family members.
Damn, that's a big family.
Yeah. Like you get like the parents, and then you get like uncles and aunts, and you also have like sisters and brothers who get married and they have kids, right? So if you have like 4 sisters and brothers and they have kids, and I
mean, when like I always thought I had a big family, but I had a really big extended family. But like my family, like it was just, I think there's only like two, like it's just 12.
Yeah, my grandma had 6 kids, and then all of her kids had between 2 to 3 kids, so it felt like a big family because of the cousins, and I think that's why it was such a large family for this one as well.
Yeah, probably.
So I'm gonna get right into it. There's no filler in this one, unfortunately. So
mine's all filler. She's got all the plastic surgery.
It's just the filler in the beginning.
We like the fillers. We like fillers.
Yeah.
Fill it up.
So at around 11:30 p.m., Santa came in from the front door.
The front door where?
The front door of the house.
Whose house?
The parents' house that she's at. I mean, if you want filler, there's a lot
it's
of
okay.
it.
No, it's okay.
Yeah.
I'm kidding.
So the 8-year-old daughter of Sylvia's sister ran towards Santa, who shot her in the face.
Oh my God! They killed a baby right away.
The little girl gets injured but survives the incident.
Oh my God! What did he shoot her? Like, what kind of gun did he have?
He had a 9mm semi-automatic gun.
Okay. Right.
So she was very fortunate because, she wasn't, because she is after all the articles I read, she's going to have to go through a lot of plastic surgery and recovery because she gets
Yeah.
shot in the face. It's a lot.
Yeah. Especially at that young, you have such small little faces.
So
Oh.
Bruce Jeffrey Pardo, Sylvia's ex-husband, was dressed as Santa and had on him a gift-wrapped homemade flamethrower in one hand and 9mm semi-automatic handgun in another, as well as 3 more 9mm semi-automatic guns on his person. So he had a gift-wrapped flamethrower in one hand and a gun in the other hand.
Is this why you asked me about my flamethrower? I'm not laughing.
No.
I'm not laughing. I should have gift wrapped that. Okay.
So
That is horrifying.
It is.
Like,
and it doesn't end.
does it mention, like, did they end their relationship like terribly? Was
Yes.
it bad? Okay.
He was very unhappy about it. And I'll tell you in the end, because obviously there's going to be like, well, what was the motive? And it's going to be their divorce is going to be one of the big motives, obviously, because he goes after his ex-wife.
Yeah.
So-
and her family.
and her
on
family.
Christmas, and shot the baby right away. Like, at least shoot one of.
Well, she's the
not
one who
even
ran
at
as
least.
Santa. How dare a little kid run at the guy dressed as Santa?
Yeah.
Right? But
Way to make an entrance, I suppose.
so Bruce
Got his point across.
Bruce started shooting randomly at the guests with his first gun, and it's speculated that he may have pointedly executed some of the victims with the other handgun. After shooting his guns, he unwrapped his present and sprayed the house with racing fuel gasoline with his flamethrower. And it was
Wait.
a homemade flamethrower.
Wait, he sprayed gasoline with the flamethrower?
Yeah. So it's
So
a
he
homemade
squirted
device.
it. So he squirted it before light.
Yep.
That is horrifying.
Yep.
So, because essentially, no, because wouldn't it just like flame back and then blow up in his hand?
He didn't. You spray it first and then you
Yeah.
shoot it out.
Yeah,
And that's what,
okay.
because he created the flamethrower himself.
Oh, what a piece of shit.
Yes. In this decision made by Bruce, he would ensure that 14 children would lose at least one parent during this incident.
Wow.
Because in between all the people that died, they would lose at least one or both parents.
The children weren't there?
Some of them were.
So, okay.
So police received 911 calls from Ortega's neighborhood. Come immediately. They're burning down someone's house. Some reported hearing gunshots. And when police arrived 3 to 4 minutes later, which is not that long of a time, but it is.
No, but 3 to 4 minutes can be a long fucking time. You got a dude blowing fucking gasoline and fire everywhere in your house.
It will be described as apocalyptic by Lieutenant. The only family members that could be immediately accounted for were Leticia Ortega, who had managed to escape with her husband and 8-year-old daughter that had been shot by Bruce. So they were able to get out.
So they probably, like, once he shot her, they probably
got the fuck
grabbed
out of
her.
there.
And, yeah.
Yeah. Because
And he probably then started walking into the
And
house.
shooting people, yeah.
Holy fuck. Well, I'm glad they got it. Well, no, one of them obviously goes back in because everybody loses.
No, I just said 14
okay.
children in
Okay,
general.
sorry.
Yes.
All right.
So a neighbor reported that they had seen a car leaving the cul-de-sac at around 11:45 p.m., indicating whoever had done this was probably still alive.
So he left?
Yep.
Okay.
The bodies found in the house had been burned beyond recognition and would have to be identified by dental and medical records. So that's why it was so important to figure out which of the Ortegas survived, and that's why they figured out, or Leticia, at least her family survived, which still sucks because she lost all of
Yeah.
her siblings and her parents.
And I'm sure she probably has to deal with a lot of guilt. Like, what if
Survivor
we,
guilt,
Yeah,
but
like,
how
what if
can
you
you-
had gone back in? Like, maybe I could have saved someone.
No.
But it's also like, yeah,
No,
but you could have
wouldn't You
also
would have
died.
and your daughter wouldn't have had a mother if
Yeah.
she survived. And I get her last quote because she gets to talk to Oprah about it because this was
Aw.
a really awful thing.
Yeah.
The fire was approximately 40 to 50 feet and took 80 firefighters an hour and a half
For
to
the whole
extinguish for the whole house. In total, 9 people perished in that night from either gunshot wound, the fire, or a combination of both.
Yeah.
So what it sounds like happened is he shoots Sylvia, he shoots her parents, and then he kind of just randomly shoots at people. And I think people couldn't escape because they got injured from being shot.
Well, probably it also sounds like he probably was still standing at the door.
Yeah.
So depending on the layout of the house, like let's just say you walk in, you have a corridor, and maybe like the living room is here. He probably walked in, and then started shooting people, and the parents, because they walked to the door too, right?
Probably because someone rang the doorbell. And,
they probably grabbed and ran out. People probably just couldn't get out, based off of like probably where he was standing.
And on top of that, if you get shot and you're injured, you can't escape either.
And they probably ran over to the people that got shot too.
Yeah.
I mean,
so Sylvia Ortega Pardo died of gunshot wound, as did both of her parents, Alicia and Joseph Ortega. Sylvia's brothers, Charles and James, and their respective wives, Sherry Lynn and Teresa Ortega, also perished in the fire. Sylvia's sister, Alicia, and her son, Michael, were also died in the fire. And the youngest person who died in the fire was 17 years old, and the oldest was 90. Oh, wow. So those who survived did so with some quick thinking and strong survival skills.
by running out the back.
Some of them get injured during their escape.
Okay.
The 16-year-old who was shot and wounded in the back somehow was able to crawl out before the house was set on fire. And a 20-year-old woman jumped out the second floor window and suffered a broken ankle. But better a broken ankle than fucking dead.
Yeah. I'll take the broken ankle. That shit heals.
Yeah. But I mean, like, it was 11:30 at night, so it's probably likely that some people were already in their bedrooms or whatever.
Yeah, she was
so
probably
you
upstairs.
hear the gunshot wounds, and some instincts tell you to hide, but I'm glad her instincts were get the fuck out of here right now.
Well, it was probably a lot of screaming.
Yeah.
Wow, that is a nightmare.
And then if you somehow were able to hide away, guess what? He lights the entire house on fire. So even if you think to yourself you can hide from this gunman.
And like he's shooting at people, then he sprays the house with the gasoline. Who knows how quick that fire started?
It starts so fast.
And where it started.
Like in 15
the police
minutes.
Yeah.
Done. Complete house gone.
Yeah. Because like the neighbors called. So neighbors called and the house was already on fire.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then they said that the car left at 11:45 and he was there at 11:30. So 15 minutes. Just hell.
Yeah.
So Bruce put on street clothes after an attack and drove his rented Dodge Caliber to his brother's house in Sylmore, about 30 miles away.
Wow.
His brother was not home. So it wasn't like he was in on this by himself. He didn't have anyone helping him.
Because I was about to say, like, did the brother know what he just did? Because he probably smells terrible.
Yeah. But yeah, his brother wasn't home, which is probably the reason why he went there. Bruce seemed to have had an escape plan because he had bought tickets to Moline, Illinois, where he had a high school friend that he had previously called saying, I'm going to come visit you. And he had obviously previously visited him in 2008 as well. So, however, the Santa suit had melted into his skin during the attack and could not be removed.
Like
a lot of it.
A lot
just
of it?
Enough of it that he knows he's very severely injured and he's going to have to go to a hospital.
Yeah.
He's not escaping this one.
Well, at least he got a little burned.
So ditching his initial escape plan, Bruce Jeffrey Pardo would later be found in his brother's home from a self-inflicted gunshot wound.
Oh.
Because he was like, you know what? It's over for me.
So
Because he knows. So he just killed himself
at
his brother's house, which is really screwed up because it's like, oh, great. Now you have to clean, like your brother gets to find your dead body and then also has to clean up your fucking mess. So relatives who returned home found his body. Police found $17,000 in cash cling wrapped on his legs inside a girdle, which is kind of weird, but yeah.
Oh my God, he could have burned up that whole money too.
I think he put it on after, and then he realized, you know what, there's no point, and then killed himself. Because then if if it was on his body, I feel like the heat would have like fucking.
Well, it depends on how much. Like it depends on where he was burned. Because if it was just his arm,
Yeah, I feel like it was his arms.
it was probably because he was like squirting that fucking gasoline and
and
stuff
then he
like
landed
that.
on his
But
hands.
I do believe a theory, if it is a theory, or it's my theory now, that he taped the money beforehand because he was just he was like, I'm going to go do this and then I'm going to go.
Get the fuck out of here.
I don't think he planned to stop at the brother's house. I think he stopped at the brother's house because he was injured.
Yeah, 30 miles away.
Yeah.
But the thing is, like, it's not in the direction
To
of the airport. but I don't know.
Well, maybe the tickets were supposed to be like a throw off where it was supposed
That's what
to
they
be
thought
like
too.
a red herring.
Yeah, they were
like,
saying that it's possible that that's what he did. He had bought it as a red herring and he was going to escape somewhere else.
so that when the police show up to like
and then
get
he
him,
didn't want it in his own
Because-
house because if you go to his house, then he doesn't want to be found right away.
this is in 2001,
8.
2008. Bro's not going to be able to make it through airport security
No.
with $17,000 taped to his body.
He's probably just going to Mexico like every fucking criminal
like,
does.
No,
That
he
area.
no, I think that was a red herring, and I think he went to the brother's house because he was injured. I
And then
wouldn't
decided that there's no way he's going to be able to make it, so he just
Yeah.
killed himself.
maybe I don't know.
Also recovered were 4 13-round capacity handguns that were empty and at least 200 rounds of ammunition. So I skipped a part right here where his rental car was found a block away from his brother's house with remnants of a Santa suit inside. And I
Okay.
think also inside were the handguns and
Okay.
the 200 rounds of
Okay.
ammunition. The car was rigged with black powder, which is gunpowder.
Yeah.
So the car was treated like a threat by the bomb squad, and they decided to fire like an incendiary device and burn it to destroy it. Because I think that they realized the car was booby trapped, and as they were trying to take it apart, they were like, "There's no way," and it makes more sense for them to blow it up in a contained place.
Man, there was probably so much evidence in there that they destroyed, but
They don't need evidence.
Yeah,
They
they don't
know
need
what he
it.
did. Yeah.
True.
At Bruce's home, police found 5 empty boxes for semi-automatic handguns, 2 shotguns, and a container of high-octane fuel tank gasoline.
Jesus Christ, how many guns did this dude have?
A lot, because he had to escape, and he was
Jesus Christ.
he wanted to destroy.
I'd like to know like what happened before all of this. Like what caused all
I'm going
of this
to get
shit?
there. Yes.
Because man, oh man, that's a lot of fucking guns.
A lot of
How is
anger.
anybody able to get that many guns?
You can get
Period.
you can get so many guns in the States.
It's-
It's just part of it.
How,
Just-
dude? I can't even like get good any service here. Like I couldn't think of anything.
So they also found a virtual bomb factory in his home. That's how they described it, a virtual bomb factory. So which is probably the bomb that was in the car as well.
Yeah.
As investigators took a closer look into Bruce's life to find a motive, they found that Bruce had no history of violence or criminal record, which is why it's even more surprising this happened, because it wasn't like he had been known to do.
I mean,
He snapped, is what they're trying to say, but I don't know.
just because you don't have a criminal record just means that you never got caught being
yeah.
a criminal. And smart criminals don't
and
get caught.
his previous girlfriend didn't really say anything bad about him either.
I mean, well, give me all the information and let me form an opinion.
He had been fired from his job as an electronic engineer at ITT Electronic Systems in July, as he had been found to be billing for false hours. You don't know anything about false hours, right?
What? No.
It was also discovered that Bruce had kept secret from Sylvia a 9-year-old son, Matthew, whom he hadn't seen since 2002. So he has another son that he hasn't told his new wife about. Like the one that, yeah.
Oh, wow.
So while Matthew was in Bruce's care, while his former girlfriend Elena Lusano went grocery shopping, 13-month-old Matthew had crawled out of the patio door and slipped into the pool. And you hear that a lot because you turn your back for a second. Yeah.
And it's nobody's fault.
But it's really, you live with that guilt forever. Matthew was rushed to Children's Hospital in Los Angeles, which is like one of the top children's hospitals.
Yeah.
Where he would be in intensive care and further care for a few weeks. For the first week, Bruce never left Matthew's side. So he really cared. Like, obviously he feels really guilty, but everything else about it was awful. Doctors would say that the severe brain damage Matthew suffered would confine him to a wheelchair for a life. Less than 6 months later, the relationship between Elena and Bruce dissolved, leaving Elena with about $340,000 in medical care for Matthew. Because you don't have insurance in the States. So
So she basically blamed him.
she didn't, though, because
Oh,
she
she
understood what happened. But she
Okay.
ended up suing his homeowner's insurance because he had a $100,000 homeowner's insurance, and she needed the money to pay off the bills. So it wasn't like she was vindictive in any way. She just needed the money to pay off her child's medical bill. And I think he also understand too.
And I mean, like, he was billing for false hours, so money was clearly a factor. He probably, I mean, I don't know what caused him to kill everybody, because it sort of sounds like he was trying to.
Well, it was previous girlfriend.
Oh, okay.
So a special trust of $240 a month was also set up for the rest of Matthew's life, which obviously ended after Bruce, you know. Once the settlement was reached in August 2002, Bruce cut off all communication to Elena and Matthew and never spoke to them again. Never saw Matthew again, was just completely done.
That's interesting.
Bruce would meet Sylvia in 2004 and marry her in 2006. The marriage started to dissolve as Bruce refused to open up a joint bank account and told Sylvia that she would have to financially provide for her 3 children with her own finances.
I mean, dude probably is having some money issues and is already paying for someone else's kid.
This is all seems to be money issue related.
Yeah, money's a problem.
In June 2008, the divorce court had ordered Bruce to pay $17.85 a month for spousal support, because he had been making pretty good money as a consultant or engineer or whatever.
It's interesting that he wouldn't open up the joint bank account.
It seemed weird. He seemed really weird about money.
Yeah.
But then she was like, I'm not doing this. And so she divorced him because she's like, I don't want to deal with you anymore.
Yeah.
So he had complained to a friend soon after that she had taken him to the cleaners, which is what you do when that happens. You complain.
That's what everybody says.
Whatever. The payments were suspended after he was fired in July due to financial hardship.
Yep.
Because he lost his job.
Yeah, happens.
The court also required Bruce to pay Sylvia $10,000 as a part of the divorce settlement, which also happens. He would complain in court that Sylvia was living in her parents' house, not paying rent, had spent lavishly on a luxury car, trips to Vegas, massages, golf lessons, and meals at fancy restaurants. And I'm like, she just sounds like this is all normal divorce.
But it's also like,
shit.
Was she?
I don't know.
Like, or is he just saying that that's what she's doing
in court? But there's obviously nothing that says that she actually did these things.
Bring your receipts. Bring your receipts, dude.
And even if she's going to fancy restaurants for dinner, why does it matter? She still gets that money regardless.
Yeah, but I can understand. I understand the argument of, why do I need to pay this woman this much money and she's living it up because, like, but whatever. No, it doesn't matter. He's at the time we don't know that he was a piece of shit at the time.
She certainly didn't deserve what she ends up getting.
No, she doesn't.
A reporter.
No woman does. Women are allowed to say no and not like you.
Women are allowed to do these kinds of things. Anyone is. It doesn't matter if you're a woman or a man.
Yeah.
If you get to pay spousal support and the court tells you have to, you have to. That's it. There's, you know what?
Or you can
don't
just alleviate the whole situation by just not getting married.
Yes. If you don't have to get married. But I feel like
I don't believe in this situation where, like, he was super loose with his money, then they got married, and then all of a sudden he was like, well, no, I'm not getting a bank account. You have to support your own kids.
I feel like he might have presented himself differently.
Possibly a little, but I mean,
a reporter later speculated this divorce shattered Bruce Pardo. It became his obsession, and Bruce began to plot ways to get back at Sylvia. I think that he decided that he wasn't just going to kill her, but he was going to kill everything that she loved and take it and wipe it off the face of the earth, which is exactly what it sounds like.
Yeah.
There was also speculation that the next stop after killing the Ortega family was Sylvia's attorney, because I can actually see that. He thinks that it's an attorney's job by the way, to be like a soul sucker. That's their job. That's what they study for. That's what they go to school for.
Yeah.
It's nothing personal. It's money.
Yes.
It's
not personal.
It's money.
It's drag.
Mm-hmm. In 2016, Letitia, Sylvia's surviving sister, told Oprah, I can't do anything to change what happened. I can only focus on the future. This is what he's done. Enough. I'm not going to allow you to continue to consume us with your evilness. You don't want that anger to live within your day-to-day and grow just like it did with this monster.
Yeah.
Because that's
No, it's true.
Yeah, she has every right to be angry. She lost everything in that fire.
But then it's
And
also like really emotionally exhausting to be putting all of that energy into
hating someone takes a lot. Yeah,
hating that person.
hating takes a lot out of you. That's why usually I can't hate anyone because it's so hard. And this is the Covina Massacre, which is what it's known as.
Well, thank you so much for your story.
Thank you for depressing me for Christmas.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
I have like a million questions, but it's all basically like why? But
I think he's just bitter, and he didn't. That was it. Well, Merry Christmas, Merry Hanukkah, Happy Kwanzaa, whatever you celebrate. Happy holidays.
Merry Hanukkah.
Merry Hanukkah. Happy Hanukkah? No, that's not right either.
Yeah, it is. It's Happy Hanukkah.
Is it?
Yeah.
I know it's happy. Is it Happy Kwanzaa?
Yeah.
I don't know. Either way, whatever you celebrate. If you don't celebrate, that's cool too. Just enjoy everything being fucking closed on Christmas, I guess. But if you can get time and a half at work or double pay, good for you.
Enjoy those.
Enjoy
the extra holiday money.
Yeah.
If you still need to buy gifts between now and Christmas,
go to the mall.
Be kind to your customer service representatives.
Yes.
They would rather be at home with their family instead of having to deal with you and your shit personality.
On Christmas Day. I hope you're here next week and you're not dead. So try to stay alive. Please don't kill
no family annihilators.
No.
Hopefully no family annihilators over this
year.
Christmas.
Yes.
And we'll see you guys next week.
Bye.